For today's video, I'm going to be reading from Great Uncle Ernest's diary, beginning Wednesday, January the 1st, 1902. First, though, I would like to highlight this card that was inserted into his diary. It's a New Year's card, and it states a Happy New Year, and it's got a beautiful verse. May the bliss of bygone hours awaken again for you, like the seeds of old year flowers that blossom again in the new. On the back it says it's to Aunt Allie from Willie A. I'm not sure who they are or what relation they would be to our family. But again, as always, if anyone has any ideas or knowledge of this, please feel free to message me. Wednesday, January the 1st, 1902. New Year's Day has come at last. Today is an extremely cold day, colder than it has been for some time. Last night I hung up my stocking and this morning received in it some candies, figs, and orange, and some collar buttons and a lead pencil. January the 2nd. Yesterday afternoon we all went down to Uncle Alfred's and had a most enjoyable time. Today Pa and I went to town with a load of hay. Ill luck seemed to follow us. Upon entering the man's yard, we found that the gate was too narrow and the load too wide, so that I was obliged to fork most of it off, and while Pa and the man carried it away. Friday, January the 3rd. The school commenced today. Miss Croskery is the teacher for the present year. Pa and I killed 2 pigs this afternoon. I do not expect to help kill any more for some time. Alice and I went down to Mr. Thomas Moody's and enjoyed ourselves very much, playing musical chairs, forfeit, silence, blind man's buff, crokinole, etc. January the 4th. Today the annual meeting of the cheese factory was held. Pa was appointed secretary and treasurer, and Mr. James Allen manager. January the 6th. Yesterday was the first Sunday of the year. Today, school began in earnest. Pa and I took 2 loads of feed out of the stable loft and put them into the barn. This evening, Pa and Ma went up to Mr. Johnny Allen's. January the 7th. We began to get out the wood today. We took it from a pile of logs that had been in the old byre and stable. We left the cedars. The annual meet of the church was today, and so Pa went in. January the 8th. I took Alice down to Uncle Johnny James today. While there, a train consisting of over 50 cars went by, and as it was passing, the cars separated, and it was some time before they were started. January the 9th. We commenced chopping today. We just felled the one tree, which was a big elm. It took a long time to get it down. Before it was down, I went up it with a rope and tied it to a branch. Afterwards, when very nearly ready to fall, we hitched a horse to it, and with a little trouble finally got it over. This is the first time I ever helped to cut a tree of so much size. January the 10th. Pa was drawing wood for Uncle Robert Elliott's today from Mr. Johnny Allen's. Mr. Allen and Pa each took in 2 loads. January the 11th. Alice arrived home today, and although she enjoyed herself very much, she was glad to get home. She made visits to several neighbors, thus increasing her acquaintances. January the 13th. Yesterday was so stormy that we neither went to church or Sunday school. This is the first time for quite a period. Today, Pa and I went to the bush and cut quite a number of small poplars, and Pa said he thought we had about 1/4 of a cord. Tuesday, January the 14th. We went to the bush again today, but I did not do quite as much owing to having to help Pa to cut some big sticks. Johnny R. Ferrier is to be married tonight to Miss Tina Devlin at 5:30. Mary Ferrier is to be the bridesmaid. January the 15th. More trees fell beneath our axes today. My chopping did not go quite as well as usual. We are, however, getting a fairly large number of wood and hope to get sufficient in a short period of time. January the 16th. We invaded the back again today and brought down a fairly large number of trees. I cut maples, poplars, and cedars. The weather is somewhat colder than it has been for some days. January the 18th. Yesterday we went to the back, but I did not feel quite as vigorous as usual, and consequently did less work. In the evening we all went to Mr. Moody's, and I would have had quite an enjoyable time had I been well. Today I did not do much either. This afternoon Pa and Ma went to town. January the 20th. Yesterday Pa and Ma went to church with several of the others. Alice and I stayed at home, she not feeling able to go. Today Pa and I went to the bush and we cut about 3/4 of a cord. January the 21st. I was engaged in a work wholly different from any I have ever attempted. I had been appointed collector of the Bible Society of the Scotch Line Division. I had a ride down to Mr. Spalding's, and then I started home. By the time I reached home, I had $6.15, but I expect to get some from several people yet. So that is where I will finish for today. I also would like to show you this plane, which was given to my father for Christmas from Uncle Ernest when he was just a boy. It's a die-cast metal plane, and it's called a Hubley Lindy cast iron plane. It's missing its propeller. It's been missing its propeller as long as I can remember. I always remember this plane sitting on my dad's dresser when I was just a little girl, and at that time it didn't have a propeller either. And my dad gifted this to my son Matthew. And looking into these Lindy planes, I found out that the Lindbergh items were extremely popular in the years immediately after Charles Lindbergh's historic flight in May of 1927. So this would have been definitely a very popular Christmas gift at that time. As always, I hope you enjoyed listening to Great Uncle Ernest.